I'm so excited to get into all this with you. I mean, we got to start with where things ended. Because look, I'm sure even in your sleep-addled mind, you probably had something in your head as to like how you thought Final Tribal Council would go. So give me your thoughts as the evening was going along. Was there a point in the evening where you thought like, yeah, you know what, I'm just gonna be here for a good time, just kind of like sit here and watch
Oh,
these
I knew
people
that
hang
ahead of
out?
time. I actually have my journal that I started at Pondy.
Oh,
26
nice.
days. I drew all the challenges. See, like there's Jem cutting the machete with the persistence challenge and the wheels. And I wrote every conversation I remember having. And the journal really starts that night we got back from Pondy. And I knew I wasn't going to win. I mean, you saw the people we played that game with. But I just wanted a chance to be able to explain my game. Like I was proud of myself for not quitting. I was on the right side of the vote, other than when Tim went home, because I'm not going to vote for my best friend. And then also the accidental Kenzie vote, which I'm sure I'm going to talk about a million times today. But I just wanted a chance to say I didn't quit. I knew my power as the swing vote. I knew y'all perceived me as a goat, but like, it could have gone a million other ways. I just watched y'all stab each other in the back and was able to play my part in that. And I got robbed of that. Nobody asked me questions at Tribal. People
Mhm.
said time when I was talking. And I mean, they were even laughing when I opened my mouth. And it was like, and that was one of the hardest things about watching it back too, because then my gameplay wasn't shown. And it was like seeing Tribal be
Mm.
validated, But out there, I just expected, even if I was on the jury, you gotta give people some grace. And like, I think you see it well enough when we lost challenges on Sega, when Maria couldn't get the ring up. I was there for her. I didn't pin it against her. It wasn't like we gotta get her out because we lost. Like, I knew people were struggling to have their time, but it's like Survivor's such a unique experience. And yeah, we're all playing for $1 million, but like, I think that's what really crushed me. And like when I was dazed in the after show, I was like, can't believe I'm sitting around a bunch of people I outlasted and they couldn't even let me tell my story. And I will say this, I said it before. I don't know if it was shown, but Q did ask me a question and did give me props on Tribal. And there was a lot of times I would say certain things and a certain person would call me a liar and go back and forth and things would erupt. And Q actually was like, Ben did do that. I can corroborate that. And for somebody that I had a very bizarre time with out there,
Yeah, I was gonna
you
say
know,
him of all people. Yeah.
yeah, because also our whole dynamic wasn't even shown. Q and I were working together. So it's like when I was being super nasty to him, I told him before Tribals, like, if I'm not a dick to you, nobody's gonna buy the smoke screen. And I said it in my pregame press. I
Yeah.
want a face-off level blindside. And
Yeah.
that was Castor Troy and Sean Archer. You know what I mean? So, and like even when he went home, I was wearing a Q skirt. It was the one day I was super chill with Q, was the day he went home. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
So I wish they could have put that in,
listen, you
but I'm
talk
cool with Q off the island. I'm just saying. But yeah.
you talk about the face off. I'd be remiss not to ask because we got so close to that 4-4 vote. And look, you toiled for that afternoon the day before about like who do I
Oh
pick
yeah.
between Charlie and Kenzie. You would have had to do it all over again in a very different $1 million way.
Oh yeah.
Do you know in that headspace who would you have voted for if you had the tie-breaking vote?
Yeah, again, like it's hard. I think people are going to say I sound like a dick because of what they saw on TV. But Charlie was just as much there for me as Kenzie.
Hmm.
Like, yeah, Kenzie did hold my hand by the fire, and we were really close out there. But you know who else did? Liz, Venus, Charlie. But Charlie was my day one, and you even see it before we head to the merge. That's when my physicality was starting to get rough. And he went and got water for me, and like we did play together. It's not shown much. It's not shown at all, but like the best times we could talk strategy because nobody knew how close Charlie were and I were except Kenzie and Liz were those times in the middle of the night when everyone was sleeping and I needed to go for a walk. We would do the rundown. This is what this is saying. This is what that person's saying. And I just think Charlie's such a diplomatic person and never lost his cool. And you see on camera how people say he isn't smart enough, even though he's joining the Secret Six to work his way up. And he still found his way into every power dynamic in that Secret Six and outlasted them. And he won so many challenges. And he did it with a heart of gold. I'm a passionate fan of rock, but like I feel like
That's putting it
like
mildly.
yeah, I think Charlie's Metallica isn't Taylor Swift. I think it's Survivor, and he has such a love and respect for the game. And I thought he did it so masterfully. It was every time he won, I would cry, and I know I cried a lot, but it was like it's like watching your student go and shred on stage. Like they're doing what they love, and they can't believe they're on that stage. I'm not saying Charlie was my student. That's not what I mean. I mean, like I teach guitar to little kids, so
Yeah.
it's like when you see them wait so hard for that moment to perform, and then they crush. It was like he was glowing, dude. You know what I mean? And I was proud of him, and we're still besties to this day. So all the Sega boys,
Well,
but
I do want to talk about sort of the state that you were in these last
yeah,
few days that culminated in, again, this incredible final immunity challenge win for many
thank
reasons.
you.
I mean, I think, you tried the best you can to describe what the physical experience you had was, but I'd love to give you another opportunity to just like talk me through
Yeah,
what those last 2 weeks were. What exactly were you experiencing out there?
it was crazy because I didn't have panic attacks when I was awake. I was so excited to be there. I was like, we're on Survivor. I know my position in the game. I know I have a pulse. I'm on the right side of the votes. I've got some friends. We're working it. But like when the sun would start going down, I would have such a physical reaction.
Mm.
And part of it, I think, is we were like sleeping at the dirt and I could never be comfortable. Whereas on Sega, we could sleep on the sand. And it was really a lot of the elements too, as well as the chaos. But towards the end of the game, I went something like I didn't eat from the merge feast to the pizza reward. And Liz had just gotten rice like maybe the day before. And we had no fruit at the merge beach. Unlike Sega, we had papayas everywhere. So I think my body was like really eating itself alive.
Mm.
And I said it on the show. It's like I can rationalize what's happening to me, but I'm having such a physical reaction. And I've never felt so off balance in my entire life. And one thing I wish they showed more is when I did wake up in the middle of the night and I was hanging with Charlie and Liz and Kenzie. I would always crack a joke. I had that Ozzy Osbourne line where I'd be like, and everybody would look at me like I'm kind of like crazy, but that's how it goes. And we'd all bust out laughing, Like there was a lot of humor and humility in what I was going through. And I really tried to not make it a burden on anybody because it was like, for Kenzie and Charlie and Liz to take care of me while they're playing their game. It's like, that's a burden. Like
Mm.
it's why those two sat at final three, and like, I think I got to final three not because of that immunity challenge. It's just my gameplay wasn't shown. But like to me, and it goes back to that question from earlier, what was I thinking? I just wanted the two people who looked out for me to have a chance. And
Yeah.
that's why I sat there and I was able to take it. But it did hurt when I couldn't even get a line or two in about what I was doing? So it was a lot. I felt dazed. It felt crazy. And even walking down the beach or going to the challenges took a lot out of me. But then it's like Jeff is there. It's kind of like, in Dewey Cox Walk Hard in the beginning of the movie, where they're like, what's he doing? And Tim Meadows goes, he's thinking about his whole life right now. And it's like before every challenge, I would just try and be like, I want my students to see I don't quit. I want to make
Mm.
my family proud. I want my friends to know I'm suffering, but I'm still rocking. And I want to know that I can keep going. And yeah, I stumbled through a lot, but like, you know, I slept maybe 90 minutes, 2 hours a day, and
Wow.
that's in 15-minute increments. It's not all at once, you know? So
Oh my
it was,
God.
it really was a lot. So even though I didn't win or anything, I mean, like, I had it stacked against me. And I do want to say, like, the other thing about the jury not asking me questions, none of them asked, not none of them, but most of them never asked how I was doing out there. Like none of them checked in on me. Even at Ponderosa, I got back. Nobody wanted to talk about the game with me. I was just like, what did I even like? And I was like, what did I do to y'all? Like I played pretty ethically. Q was very nice.
Hmm.
Like, I know it's portrayed one way, but he did write me a letter when I got to Pondy.
Oh
And
wow.
yeah, it's like there were people that could put the game aside, but I had a real rough time there and having to come back and process it. And most of the jury doesn't want to talk to you or ask you what you did because they perceived whatever it was like it was a lot. I feel like I
Yeah.
had to go multiple ways, and then to have none of my gameplay be shown, it was like it just kind of brought some of that. Well, what am I doing here? But that last immunity win, at least, I'm glad they showed that one. So,
Well, let me give you the opportunity. If there was
yeah,
like one piece of major gameplay that you wish we had seen in the edit,
yeah.
what would that be? Be it a relationship, a move, etc.
There's a lot. I'm probably going to talk about that Q smoke screen a lot in that blindside, but above any of that, and I think this is how I would define the season, was you get to the merge and there's all these people playing super hard only amongst themselves.
Mm.
Nobody talked to me for 2 days because Q and Maria told people I had an idol, which I didn't have, obviously. I was at the bottom. I had Liz from the journey. I knew how people perceived Liz. I loved Liz.
Mm.
I had Charlie from day one, and Kenji and I just clicked. And I was like, okay. I remember coming up to them, I was like, I've got an alliance name. Let me know how y'all feel about this. We could be the bottom four or the gathering of the goats, you know? And we worked together for quite some time. Yeah, sometimes some
Mm.
people were left out of certain things, but I felt like the season was this big jock energy. And just like high school, all the nerds got overlooked. And I couldn't believe that even at 8 or 7, all these people nobody took seriously. Me, Liz, Venus, we're still sitting there, still
Mm.
making votes that were controlling the outcome. And these people were still only playing amongst themselves. Like, that's why I'm so baffled at Final Six that Q and Maria couldn't see all the people they never talked gameplay with. Like, how could they not realize we were all hanging out the whole time? You don't think we were talking? And I feel like that's the thing I'm proudest of. And maybe that's not a game move, but it's like we read the room, and I could safely say, to quote Liz, the vibe had spoken. You know what I mean? So I don't think it was a coincidence that we were the final four, even though it might look that way, you know?
Hmm. I mean, last thing I want to ask is like, looking back upon your own journey. You mentioned in the after show that this was an opportunity for you to sort of like become your own
Yeah.
guitar teacher in a manner of speaking, right? To
Yeah.
be your own hype man. What was that experience been like for you for the past like near year? Because I would imagine, yes, you were walking out with like maybe not the best sense of self in terms of other people looking at you, but you still walked away with that lesson that I'm sure you took into your life.
Yeah, I mean, nobody could take away that I did sit there, regardless of how it's perceived. You know, I think
Mm.
whenever people don't want to ask you a question, I think you can read the room and know that it might not have anything to even do with it being you. So, but going home was just like I didn't even think about the game. I was just like I survived the insanity that my body went through. And I
Hmm.
made friends and I never complained on the level that some people would. I always had a smile on in the challenges. I was always happy to be sitting with Charlie and Liz and Kenzie. And like, I got home, I was like, to quote somebody else, I can do hard things, while people called me a liar and a cheat and a snake for whatever God knows reason. And I got home and I was proud of myself. And it's like, that's what I've been telling my students. It's like, you never know. Yeah, you might not win a million, but like the goals on the journey's just as important. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So now I know I can survive a 6 month tour in 3 days and $3 at Taco Bell, but we're doing
That's the
good.
ultimate takeaway, yes,
Yeah.
from Survivor. Well, listen, our takeaway from watching you, man, is like, again, you succeeded in your goal of just showing who you were authentically down to the
Yeah.
very fiber of your being. And it really heartened me, especially again, watching you win that final immunity challenge. Felt like such a spiritual victory in so many ways. And I think speaks to everything you were able to overcome in that moment. And the fact that you made it through and you came through with almost a clearer head as to like how to approach life is so incredibly inspiring, man. So look,
Thanks, dude.
yeah, so like I wish you had $1 million more to invest back in the band and everything, but it does seem
Million hearts rips.
I was gonna
But
say, like, you're on your way to 1 million hearts, man. So it was great as always chatting with you, Ben. You are such a great time, and I'm so looking forward to what happens next with you, dude.
fist bump.
There we go, man. All the best to you and yours, and enjoy the rest of this.
Thank you so much.
All right, dude. Have a good one.
Later.
Bye.